Hello everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist and welcome to my channel. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. Those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. As I stated, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist, but I'm also an author working on my first novel. So on my channel, I like to dig into what I consider to be the heart of writing, what really makes it interesting, and that is the characters. And what makes the characters interesting is their psychology. So that's what we dig into on my channel, various different psychological topics regarding writing, regarding characters, world building, all that kind of stuff. So for this video today, it is the next video in a series I've been doing, which is where we take popular character, movie, book tropes, and we dig into the psychology behind it and look at how can I make this realistic, but also what are ways I can make this very interesting. So for today, our topic at hand is the happy-go-lucky hero. Okay, so first things first, what is the happy-go-lucky hero? This one may seem a bit self-explanatory, but the happy-go-lucky hero is the hero who is always smiling, always gets back up, doesn't seem to be deterred by any conflicts or problems that they encounter. This is the hero that comes out after a battle and after brushing themselves off gives you a big smile and says, let's keep going, let's keep going. Now, in more recent years, there has been a shift towards more psychologically realistic characters, and you might think that this character would fall into the unrealistic zone. Not necessarily. There is definitely characters that take this to the extreme, and anything taken to an extreme isn't realistic. But is it realistic that a person can remain happy and go lucky and optimistic after they have been through trial after trial and not end up a pile of angst on the floor? Actually, yes. We actually have a term for it in psychology, and we call it resilience. So, first off, let's get rid of some myths real quick. When people go through trauma, any kind of trauma, because let's face it, in a book, if nothing happens to the characters, it's not a very popular book. So, if your character goes through trauma or conflict or anything like that, only about 15% of people that go through trauma get PTSD. Others may get traits of PTSD, nightmares, flashbacks, things like that, but they don't have all the traits necessary for PTSD. However, there is also a collection of lucky folks who bounce right back from trauma, and it doesn't have a permanent negative effect on them at all. And that's what we call a resilient person. So I think that is the most important thing to consider with a happy-go-lucky hero is the trait of resilience. So what is resilience? Well, kind of like I said, resilience officially means someone's ability to bounce back from a traumatic event or a struggle, their ability to keep going and not be discouraged, depressed, etc., etc., etc. Now, there are definitely factors that can increase someone's resilience, and that's actually something that we do in therapy, is we try to increase the factors that we can increase. So, generally, these factors are divided into two separate categories. We have the internal factors, and then we have the external factors. So, external factors you will usually also hear referred to as the protective factors. And what these are things outside of yourself, outside of your personality, that make it easier for you to move on when you've been faced with conflict. This can be things like community, this can be family, friends, this can be an overall social intelligence. And as a general rule, these are factors that we can increase, but we can't necessarily, they're not factors that you can sit down in individual therapy and fix right away. These are factors that require more of a community effort. So, for example, someone that has a family that is there to support them, that is a protective factor. If they have a lot of friends, that is a protective factor. If they are a part of a community group of some sort, and this can be church, this can be maybe they go to their comic book shop every week and whatever card game they play now. If they have a Dungeons and Dragons group they go to, if they are part of chess club, anything where they get together with people with like-minded traits and likes, that is a protective factor. Now, the last one of the external is essentially, I'm trying to think of a good term for it. It's essentially having social intelligence, the ability to connect and interact with people. And this kind of blends into the other two, but there is a little bit of a difference to it, mainly that having social intelligence generally means that you can, if you don't have those other two factors, you have the ability to create them. You have the ability to go out and say, okay, I like comic books. I'm gonna go find some conventions I'm gonna go to, or hey, I haven't gone back to school. I'm gonna go and get my degree in English or whatever. That's social intelligence, the ability to pick a goal where you interact with people and the ability to interact with them appropriately. So someone who is very, very shy, they might have a little bit of trouble with this social intelligence, not because they don't know how to do it, but just making themselves do it. So if your character has all three of these, they've already got some pretty major protective factors. So that leads us into the internal factors, an internal personality traits that make it easier for someone to bounce back from a traumatic experience. First things first, someone who has flexible thinking. So this is someone who is easily adaptable. They can, if they're put in a situation and their current plan, whatever plan they had, does not go right, they can think and reevaluate and change their mind, change their path. That is very useful in preventing permanent effects of trauma. One of the other things is we generally find it among creative people, so people that like to write, that like to do art, that like to do music, and that may be related to the fact that those fields are generally asking you to do more abstract thinking than, say, for example, mathematics or science. Doesn't mean that someone that likes mathematics and science can't be adaptable, but generally people that are more creative are going to have an easier time at it. The other factor is having empathy. That's something that's come up on our channel, this channel, a lot, because it kind of flows through everything. If you're someone who can understand emotion and feel emotion and kind of connect with other people through emotion, that's going to help you. But another factor is what we call intrapersonal, not intrapersonal intelligence. And that is the ability to kind of look inside yourself and analyze your own feelings, analyze your own abilities and your own traits, and understand why you feel a certain way. People that have strong intrapersonal skills do very well bouncing back from trauma. Right, another factor that can affect the ability to have strong resilience is the ability to learn, the commitment to learn. So basically, if you have the mindset that you are always able to expand your knowledge base, you're always open to new ideas, that's going to help you. Because a lot of times what happens with trauma is when it affects the mind, and we have to essentially rewire the mind. So if you already go into a situation with the ability to shift and change and make new decisions and embrace new ideas, that sets you ahead. Another factor, if you already have positive values, and by this we generally mean healthy, healthy ideas about yourself, about others, high self-esteem, a belief that you can get better, that a belief that you can learn and improve yourself, that is a strong factor. So what does this mean when we're writing a hero character? Does this mean that the hero can never get upset, never cry, always smiling? No, that's not what it means. Someone that has resilience still gets angry, they still get sad, they still get upset. But the difference is that it doesn't linger. They kind of embrace it, work through it, move on. So they don't have the permanent effects of, say, for example, nightmares or flashbacks or things of that nature, things that can stick around when you go through trauma, because their brain is already working to essentially already rewire. Okay, now that I've been through this, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to change. And as much as I love a good angsty hero, I do, and I do love that it's drawing more attention to trauma and the negative effects of trauma. I think that's brilliant. I love it. However, like I said, not everyone that goes through trauma has that happen to them. Some people have this strong sense of resilience, and it does promote them and propel them through. And I think that deserves attention as well, because the traits that are present in these characters are very healthy traits that people can learn. They can learn, they can improve on, they can expand, and that makes them more resilient themselves, so they are able to work towards their goals without being drugged down so much by the negative things that are going on. So that, my friends, is the happy-go-lucky hero. And I will be frank, this is one of my favorite tropes because I tend to be a very optimistic person. I love happy characters. Like I said, I got nothing against a character that goes through their own little angst and learns and grows. I think that's great. But I think you do need to balance it out. I don't want a whole character roster of people who are angsty. Just like I wouldn't want a whole character roster of people that are smiling all the time. That's boring. I like a mix. And I think sometimes people forget that this one is here and they dismiss it because they think, oh, well, that's not realistic. And not necessarily. It can be. Just depends on how you write it. So I appreciate you guys coming in and checking this video out today. As always, you can leave comments below or suggestions. I always love to read them. You're always welcome to follow me on social media. If you like this kind of content, do let me know by subscribing and ringing the bell, and you'll know when I upload every week. I upload twice a week, once on Thursday, once on Sunday. I'm a little late this week because of the holiday, but I hope you guys forgive me for that. And until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.